This podcast is brought to you by Pragmatic Solutions, the leading iGaming PAM platform with a modular approach, including many benefits like a fast, secure, and scalable API-based platform, integrated with all major third-party products and services. Make sure you head over to Pragmatic Solutions and join our smart thinking.
Well, Matevz, we'll jump straight into it here. So obviously you've taken over as the new CEO of Bragg Gaming Group, but obviously you have a long history in the company. You started as the founder of Oryx back in 2010, the company that then kind of morphed into Bragg Gaming Group. First and foremost, can you talk about your journey in the company in the last 13 years? How did the company start, and can you talk about the journey that led us here today?
Sure. So we started as a software development shop back in the early 2010s, and for the first 2 years we were pretty much developing games and PAM tech stack, and we started licensing it out to operators in 2013. Before that, we were basically selling parts of that tech stack to individual operators, and we were more like a software shop. And then we quickly became an aggregator of third-party content, because our operators wanted more and more content, and those were the times where markets were regulating, and people were looking at different content providers, how to add different content providers efficiently without having to put too much effort into integration, into delivery, into legal paperwork. That all slowed them down, obviously. So we came in as a very efficient solution for that problem. So in 2015, we started with the aggregation business, or the aggregation vertical. And by 2018, we were one of the most important aggregators out there, aggregators of content out there, both on the what you call a hub level and the RGS level, with obviously Gammamat as our most important content studio. We were focusing on Germany and Southeastern European markets at that time, and we had PAM clients in those markets as well. In 2018, we then sold the company to a group of Canadian investors that rolled it into a public company, cross-listed it to, first it was listed on TSX Venture, cross-listed into TSX, and eventually, after the end of the second year of my earnout period, we decided that it's best if I continue being involved in the company, and I converted my earnout into a share in what was then already a Bragg Gaming Group, with a goal to create a really global player and a leading content aggregation and PAM solution provider. So we listed the company on NASDAQ in 2021. I joined the board, became a vice chairman, and in June of this year became a chairman of the board, and then through an analysis that the board performed on the company, decided together with the board that it's best if I join the company as a CEO as well. And here we are.
The company has gone full circle, now you could say.
Yeah.
So I'd like to talk a little bit more to understand the business model here. So obviously you produce your own content as well through the game studios that you own. You also aggregate content to the operators through the classic game studios. You have exclusive agreements with certain game studios that you also distribute games through. You have your PAM and turnkey. There's a lot of stuff going on here. So for the layman, perhaps, could you explain a little bit more in clear terms, kind of like what the business model of Bragg is? What is it that you're trying to accomplish, and what are your different verticals?
Yeah, so we have We have a PAM vertical, so that's basically a player account management system with payments management model, with fraud model, with CRM, like a full PAM. We license that out to licensed operators. Holland is our biggest market at the moment for PAM. We have Croatian operators sitting on our PAM. We have German operators sitting on our PAM. And that has been the model since 2013, really. Then we have an aggregation tech stack. PAM is a tech stack. Aggregation is a tech stack. We have an aggregation tech stack. There we basically aggregate third-party content providers such as Evolution, Playing Go, Pragmatic, and 70 other content providers, and we deliver this content to B2C operators in an efficient manner. It's called like that. Then we have RGS. The third tech stack is RGS, where we aggregate third-party exclusive content, such as Gamomat, Blueberry, Peter & Sons, Gaming Arts, and so on and so forth. King Show Games as well. And these are content studios that don't have their own licenses, don't have their own certificates, don't have their own infrastructure, and we take their content and we implement that content on the RGS, and we then distribute it to our network of clients. On the top of that same RGS, we have proprietary content. As a result of our recent acquisition, maybe I want to go a step back. We've acquired Wall Street Gaming in 2021, and they had a library of content that they were developing for companies like Light & Wonder and IGT and Pragmatic, IGT in land-based, Light & Wonder in online, and Pragmatic in online. So we took that library and we implemented it on the top of our RGS, and we're now distributing that content in both Europe and United States. And then we have a fully staffed team of marketing and operational teams, fully staffed team of marketing and operational people that we offer as a service to PAM operators. So managed services, PAM, aggregation, and RGS, and content. That is a turnkey solution.
Right. Yeah. So on the game supplier side, on the content side, the opportunity here for you guys, if I can try to understand it, is essentially that, especially in recent years, many game studios have come to life. There are hundreds of game studios today. Yes. Who are all fighting for distribution to operators, who are all fighting for space, who are all fighting to establish themselves. And many of these game studios, they don't have the operational know-how, the operational resources, perhaps, to be able to distribute their games to as many operators as they wish. So they can essentially come to you as a game studio, and you will take care of not only the distribution to the operators, but also to host the game and to verify the games and take care of all the kind of like commercial and messy stuff, so that many of the smaller studios can just focus on creating games. Is that correct? Something like this?
Correct. That's correct. We have also established ourselves as a leading aggregator for land-based content. Wild Streak was primarily a land-based content developer. Gamomat was primarily a land-based.
All right, so you bring them online, then.
We bring them online, yeah. Okay. So if you look at our portfolio right now, KSG was a land-based content studio developing for IGT. Blueberry is a land-based content studio that has recently ventured into the online. So we feel we have an edge there, and very experienced, talented team, and we can offer a lot to these land-based content studios. We're not so much into smaller indie studios and trying to distribute them. It's established land-based developers and trying to venture into online.
Fair enough, fair enough. And the company, just looking at the financials in the last few quarterly reports here with Bragg, is looking really positive. It seems like you are breaking kind of all-time highs quarter per quarter almost, and you're naturally coming out of an all-time high quarter in terms of revenue, EBITDA, and so on and so forth. Can you talk a bit more about the momentum that you have in the company? It seems to be doing well quarter by quarter.
Yes, we have grown, except for one quarter. I think in 2021 we have been continuously growing our revenue and EBITDA. We have reported record second quarter revenue of 24.7 million euros. Our gross profit was up 18.9% to 13.8 million. Adjusted EBITDA up 51.3% to 4.7 million, and that is a result of delivering our strategy that was sort of refined in 2021 when we acquired Wild Streak, and 2022 when we acquired Spin Games.
Right. And are you looking to, so obviously you are taking over here now, CEO Matevz. Are you looking to make any major strategic shifts in the company at the moment, or is it kind of more business as usual, tighten up processes, incremental, or
yeah,
do you
it's
see?
more of a, what we want to do is accelerate our US strategy. We have created a roadmap of 60 plus games that are going to be delivered in 2024. We believe that we have...
and this is your proprietary content?
This is a combination
or through the third-party exclusive studios?
Combination of proprietary and exclusive studios.
Yeah, okay.
So we're talking about Wild Streak, we're talking about Atomic Slot Labs, which is a studio that we have created in 2022. It's a proprietary studio. Indigo Magic, which is another proprietary studio that we have created. Blueberry, KSG, Incredible Technologies, Gamomat, and others. So we think we have a very healthy roadmap of content that is going to be delivered to the market, and we want to accelerate the distribution and deployment of those games with US operators and global tier 1 operators, tier 1 and tier 2 operators.
Right.
And of course we want to optimize some of the processes, be more efficient, be more aggressive. The market is consolidating, so that's another challenge, and we want to look at opportunities in the M&A space as well, to a certain extent, obviously. In Europe, we're still growing. We have a healthy growth rate in Europe as well. In Holland, we have managed to get to 30+% of market share. We're a supplier of turnkey solution to six operators at the moment, and we have standalone aggregation deals with a few other operators such as Holland Casinos, and then we're a supplier of content to all the other operators. Going very strong in the US as well, with content distribution into operators in all states, and subject to some compliance processes that are underway, and we feel that in 2024 we're going to be able to really push for increased revenue in the US.
So Matevz, let's stay on the North American focus for a little bit. It seems like Bragg has committed itself to seeing the North American market as its primary focus, if I understand things correctly in terms of markets. First and foremost, if we back up a couple of years, looking at the share price of Bragg, it reached like astronomical heights a couple of years ago, and then it's kind of come back to earth a bit. In connection to that kind of like rise and coming back to the kind of pre-pandemic levels, let's say, it seems like it was an expectation on the US market that online gambling was going to be the next big thing together with sports betting.
Correct.
Now, as things turned out, at least so far, we only have 7 state launches in online gambling or casino, or online casino, whereas we have something like 35 state launches in sports betting for online. Is it somewhat disappointing to you how the US market has turned out so far in terms of online gambling? And how do you view the future of the state launches itself in online gambling? Because not much seems to be moving there right now.
Yeah, so, most of it was so the share price movement. So the market valuations were a result of a market trend at the time. If you look at DraftKings, it was $70 in 2021. We were at 30 Canadian in
Yes.
2021.
As an investor in DraftKings, I remember that very well. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And DraftKings went down to like $12. We went down to 4 Canadian. So we also had high expectations of investors as we prepared for NASDAQ launch in 2021, which was then delayed because of the developments in Germany. Eventually we listed on NASDAQ at the end of 2021, and then all sorts of different macro geopolitical challenges in 2022, and we ended up where we are today with actually, positive momentum this year with the Bragg share price gaining 50% in recent months. So we plan to keep delivering and to keep the momentum of that in the follling quarters.
Yeah, exactly. But still, looking at the expectations of the US market now as we move forward, do you, when you make your, budgets and analysis for the coming years and calculating growth and revenues and so on, do you see further state launches as a bonus? Do you expect further state launches, or do you just kind of like budget for growth in the existing 7 states today?
Yeah, so even with the existing regulated online casino states, and I have some numbers here, the US as a whole is, by the largest online casino market in the world today. It's, the hype over the US growth has slowed down a little bit, but it's still a huge growth market compared to many other established markets in Europe. And just reading numbers, the US online casino market is on track to grow around 20% this year, to around 7 billion in GGR, according to H2 Gambling Capital. And that is based on the 3 largest iGaming states, which are Michigan, Pennsylvania, and New Jersey, at around 2 billion GGR each. If we compare that with some of the largest European iGaming markets, UK projected online casino GGR in 2023 is $5 billion, and it's flat year-on-year growth. So we're very positive about developments in the US market. We have less than 1% market share in the United States right now. So there's plenty of room to grow.
Room to growth, yeah. And how difficult is it to establish yourself in the US? It seems that you guys are very far ahead. You've already integrated with most of the major operators over there. So how do you grow that market share from here when you have established the contracts? How do you grow that market share?
Yeah, so we decided to acquire an established it's called aggregation and delivery platform, Spin Games, in 2021, completed the deal in 2022. That accelerated the process, because Spin was already integrated with all the major operators in all the iGaming states, including some states in Canada, and had all the contracts in place. We are very well prepared for an aggressive rollout of our proprietary and third-party exclusive content through those integrations and through those established relationships. And we feel that, with what I said earlier, with our very healthy roadmap of 60+ games that are going to be released in 2024, we are going to be able to increase our market share in the US market
Right. So at the end of the day, it is all about the quality of the content.
Correct. It's the quality of the content. It's the quality of the relationships that you have with operators. But it's also about, how well are you able to use your tech stack. We believe that with our RGS tech stack and with our aggregation tech stack, and on top of that, with our Fuse tech stack, which is something that we have introduced in 2022, we're able to compete and actually be very competitive in the market. A few words about Fuse. Fuse is an engagement platform that allows us to aggressively promote and place content. We're able to create campaigns, in-game retention campaigns, and so on and so forth. And that is something that we put a lot of effort in, and we believe that that is going to propel us.
And can you talk a bit more on the challenges of the US market, perhaps, because it's a very different market to Europe, in the sense that European operators, thousands of games integrated. The integration in itself is perhaps not the biggest challenge, but rather how to market the games in the operators. But whereas in the US, it's a lot more difficult even to get started, right? Even to get the first game integrated.
Correct.
Can you talk about what is the major challenges there in the US as a game supplier, and perhaps if you are a small game studio, maybe going through all these license processes is not possible, but then instead you can integrate your game through working with someone like yourself, right?
Yeah.
But what are the challenges?
So the challenge is obviously, compliance. Getting licensed in the United States is not an easy process, and it requires lots of commitment from key executives, board members, shareholders as well.
What do you mean by that, commitment?
Well, lots of paperwork.
Yeah.
So just lots of paperwork and interviews, and just the amount of time that you spend preparing
due diligence.
Yeah. So historical records of individuals, and some people are not willing to do it. Some people don't have time to do it. Some people are just couldn't care less because they have businesses in Europe that are making them enough money. So that's one challenge. The other challenge is obviously getting all the contracts done with major US operators, and these are very different companies from what we were used to in Europe. Then you have integration challenges. Most of the US operators have very busy integration roadmaps, so it's not like you're going to get integrated in 2-3 months or whatever the case might be with some less global operators. These times, the integration times, can go up to 12 months, and with some operators even more. And some operators, as a result of recent consolidation processes, have initiated migration, platform migration projects, and that's another challenge for content providers as well, because they might have been integrated into the tech stack yesterday, but they're not integrating into a new tech stack that is being introduced tomorrow, right? So it's a lot of time, it's a lot of effort, it's a lot of commitment from the company across all teams, across all processes, to get live in United States. And I think we are, like I said, with the acquisition of Spin and the addition of Wall Street Games, who is a US slot development specialist, because that is also important. You have to have quality content. You can't just, obviously go into a new market without a local slot development knowledge or slot knowledge. And again, we believe that we have an edge here. And we believe that we're going to be successful in distributing and distributing and deploying that content in the United States.
So is that what you see as like a bit the competitive edge here in the US? There isn't that many players on the game studio side. There isn't that many competitors as there are in Europe, and perhaps in Europe it becomes more a race to the bottom to some extent, where game studios are undercutting each other in order to promote their games via operators. Whereas in the US, you're already integrated, you already have the licenses. Today you have a low market share, but you have a great opportunity now to grow that market share without having to fight on these like very difficult terms that you have to do in Europe. Is it something like this? Yeah.
Correct. And I think that the entry barriers are actually getting higher in United States. We believe that the American market is going to be less of an opportunity or less of a chance for smaller studios coming into the market. It's going to be, so it was all about quantity in the past 2 years, because operators were trying to get content in. At some point, I think Michigan had only like 80 games certified. I think it was at some point last year. So that was a challenge. How do you get enough quantity? Now they're focusing more on quality and stable roadmaps that they can get established with content providers. And of course, in the future, you're going to see content providers introducing unique features, unique tool sets, same like Europe maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago. But it's going to be a much faster process. It's going to be, Europe on steroids, I guess. Europe started with migration away from casino modules into seamless integrations. Then it was free rounds, and then it was all sorts of other stuff like leaderboards, tournaments, and massive quantity of content. So in Europe now, it's more of a challenge of, for casino managers, what content do you use? What content do you
out of all the
thousands of games that they get on their desk every week. In US, it was more recently. It was more a challenge of getting enough content in.
Yeah, interesting. And so, are there other markets that you are looking at as well? There's a lot of emerging markets out there today. Latin America is really hot right now with some of the markets over there about to be regulated or are regulated already. Brazil, Peru, Chile, Argentina, so on and so forth. Other emerging markets cropping up as well around the world. When you look at the more global perspective, Matevz, outside of Europe and North America, where do you see opportunity for growth?
So like I said, we still see opportunity for growth in Europe. So, main markets in Europe, such as Italy, UK, Sweden, Spain. We see opportunities for growth in Canada, where Ontario is currently the only regulated commercial market. We see opportunity for growth outside of Ontario and outside of the commercial market. We see opportunity for growth in the lottery segment. We have recently launched our aggregation and engagement platform, one of the European state lottery operators, and we see a lot of interest for that from other lottery operators as they venture away from being a classic retail ticket seller into being an online operator. So they're adding content. They have to add content to be able to compete, and they also have to add tool sets that are allowing them to compete with traditional online casino operators. We see Brazil as obviously a market that is going to be hugely important for suppliers like us. And we are very happy that finally the regulation has come to fruition.
Moving forward. And it includes online gambling now,
It does include,
since yesterday, the amendment there.
Correct. So Brazil and then Mexico. Obviously, Mexico is a market that we believe has huge potential as well.
Can we stay on Mexico as a topic for a while? Because it's a market that is interesting to me. We are doing some research on our side of Mexico right now, and obviously Caliente is the big player over there. They own something like, I don't know, 75% of the market, something like this. And so it's almost like a monopoly that is even worse than the US in a sense, where you have, in the US at least, you have 4 players that have like relevant market share. In Mexico, there's Caliente and everyone else.
Yes.
Right. How do you see, and still, you know, Mexico is one of the most populous countries in Latin America. Massive market, but seemingly operators are struggling a bit to establish themselves there. We've seen even a few cases of companies that have been committing themselves to Mexico and failing to the point where the company failed. Genesis is an example of this. So in the Mexican market, like, how do you see that market developing? Is it possible to go up against Caliente as an operator today?
Well, everything is possible, I mean, in the future. So it probably depends on the regulation as well. I mean, current regulation is it's not, you know, a very modern one, I would say.
Right.
So,
you have to partner with a land-based.
Yes, and I think like the law is from something like the law that they use for the basis of like the gaming directives, or what they call it, is from, I think, 1948 or something.
Oh,
like that. Yeah. The definition, at least the definitions of it.
Right. Great way to regulate online gambling.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, I mean, I'm not an expert on Mexico, just so we understand each other. So, you know, any market like that is a great opportunity, and both for operators and for suppliers, and for all the, you know, other companies, marketing companies, affiliates, influencers, whatnot. Is it possible to challenge Caliente? I would say yes. I mean, someone will eventually come that is going to break through that monopoly, one way or the other. How and when? That's probably a $1 billion question.
Yeah, literally. Yes. So taking a step back again, you know, we talked about before that there is the proliferation of game studios now. There's hundreds and hundreds of game studios, many of which have popped up in the last 1 or 2 or 3 years, to the point where, as you point out, in the European market specifically, it's difficult for the casino managers even to keep up with all the games that are being released on a monthly basis. Is it sustainable? Is this market sustainable with hundreds of game studios existing? Or do you think consolidation is inevitable, or bankruptcies are inevitable within the game studio segment today? And does this present opportunities for you? You mentioned, you know, perhaps you are not close to pursuing growth through M&A. You know, there must be a lot of talented kind of like game studios out there that are struggling today. How do you view that segment of the market?
Yeah, so the general trend has been toward consolidation in the industry, and we review the opportunities as they arise. And when we talk about M&A, that is more something that we're, you know, monitoring. If these opportunities arise, we will obviously look at them. We acquired 2 game studios, like I said, Wall Streak and Spin Games, and we've partnered with many more on the RGS level, so we have a very good overview of what's going on in the content space. Now, you know, content studios have a challenge to deliver consistently, and they have to have great product and great angle. And I agree, the competition out there is fierce, and it's very difficult to survive in this world. Also, with, you know, increased regulation, compliance that is comprise requirements that are heavier and heavier every year. Restrictions for the operators are sort of driving these studios to have to lower their prices, have to lower the rates. It's going to be tough to survive for a lot of them, I guess. And a few things that it's probably worth to mention is that differentiation is going to be the key in the future for these content studios. Localization is going to be key. Quality math models is going to be the key for these studios. Unique features is going to be very important for content studios to be able to offer something different to these operators. Today, you can't win just with producing 10 games, 12 games, and no one's going to look at them if you throw them into the market and say, hey, I'm the best out there. Doesn't work that way.
No, you can't get away with launching another Cherry and Bells game.
No.
In 2020.
Very difficult.
Brilliant. So, as an aggregator, in a way, you could say that an aggregator is just the middleman between the game studio and the operator taking a cut. And what do you feel is like? Why do you feel aggregators are important to the industry? And why will they continue to be important in the future when operators are struggling with margins? It's difficult markets. What do you see your place as to contribute and to sustain this ecosystem?
Yeah, so the aggregators are important because they allow the operators to deliver a full suite of casino games or iGaming content to their players through a single integration without too much development and integration hassle, and pretty much through a single contract. And it's a very effective way of managing the content delivery process. And I believe that is a model that is a business model that is going to stay. It's not going to go away. It's actually becoming more and more important as these large operators try to manage their priorities on one hand, development and integration priorities on one hand, and launches into new markets on the other hand. It's the aggregators that they rely on as they try to offer quality content to their players. It's like I said, it's a very efficient way of doing that. New markets like Brazil are going to offer more opportunity for aggregators. New markets such as Canada, Ontario, and offer more opportunity for content aggregators. We've seen that happening in markets like Belgium, Holland as well, and some of the more established markets in Europe, such as Croatia, Serbia as well, Romania, to a certain extent. So we're happy to see that development.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
And Michael, just to start to round off a little bit here today, I'm curious as well. As a founder myself of a business, we ran this business for the last 10 years, and I know the ups and downs and the struggles of running a business, at least on a smaller scale, of course, than yourself. But I'm curious as well about your own personal journey. You built Oryx for a number of years. You made a partial exit here that brought the company to the public markets, and kind of took a step back from being the CEO at that time of the full company. Still, as you mentioned, you were still on the board of directors and so on. And now you're taking a step back into the CEO role, into the fray, taking a step up in terms of operational, kind of being part of the whole operation again. So, personally, what drives you to continue to work hard after 13 years later, running the company, taking a step back, and then now jumping into the fray again? How do you keep yourself motivated?
Well, it's a challenge, and I like challenges. And what motivates me is, like I said to you before, I think that this company has massive potential to become one of the leading content delivery and content providers in the US and in Americas, and some of the evolving markets such as Brazil and Canada. and our focus is going to be, US, obviously, on that front. So that is sort of one challenge. And the other challenge is, how do I, make this company even more successful in Europe, where our core markets are, and where we actually started. To go, maybe a few years back, when I left this company as a CEO, that year I think we did like 57 million euros in revenue, and it was something like 250 people. Now it's a global player. It has become a global player. It's a Nasdaq listed company. We have 450 plus people across Las Vegas, Toronto, London, Malta, Slovenia, and Chennai in India. 25 different licenses, licensed in 25 different jurisdictions, or certified or approved in any way in 25 different jurisdictions. So it's something that drives me, and it's something that I would like to take on as a challenge personally. Yeah. I'm also very much aligned with the other shareholders, with the board, and with the management. I'm a single largest shareholder of the business, so that's also a very important driver.
You have a personal interest there, so
yes.
Yeah. It's important for sure. And
Sure.
Founder-led businesses, I think, are the businesses to really keep an eye on.
Yeah.
And there is more than just the work commitment there. There is the heart and the soul, and obviously the financial commitment.
And I think it's a massive opportunity for the company, for me personally, for the team, for the Oryx team, that some people or lots of people that were there in 2021 and in 2020 are still there. We added lots of new talent to the business, both in the US office, in the Malta office, and in Slovenia office. We obviously, have Wall Street as a very experienced slot development team, and that's something new for me as well, to have a proprietary studio in house. And I enjoy working with these people, and I was always very highly motivated in that respect.
Final question for you today, Matevz. So we talked about the opportunity, we talked about the market itself, US, rest of the world, the Bragg Gaming past, present, but let's talk a little bit about the future as well. So where do you see Bragg Gaming and the iGaming industry perhaps in 5 years' time? Do you have any predictions for the company, where you want to be, and do you have any predictions for the industry itself?
Well, for the industry, it's hard to it's hard not to imagine more consolidation happening in the next 5 years. So I think that we're going to see more consolidation, both on the B2C side and on the B2B side. And we are going to be a partner of choice for these global operators on both sides of the ocean, sooner than 5 years from now. We're going to be a PAM and a turnkey solution provider in multiple jurisdictions. We have proven ourselves to be a very reliable and trustworthy partner for large operators in that vertical. And like I said, we want to be a content partner of choice for global operators on both sides of the ocean in a few years' time.
Brilliant. Exciting times ahead for Bragg Gaming. Solid investment case here today, that's for sure. Matevz, it's been great to get to know you here. It's been great for me to dive into the company, and I'm really excited to see how things are going to pan out there. So thank you for coming on board today.
Thank you very much, and hope we see each other soon.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.